Hello and welcome to the MisAdventures of Miss Lindsey, episode 3. Can you believe it? We've been doing this for 3 weeks now. All right, let's get started with today's episode. First up, why am I wearing this Nintendo shirt? It's got Princess Peach, Rosalina, Daisy. Well, today, my friends, we're talking games. More specifically, video games. Let me walk you through this. When I was a kid, the Nintendo came out. The NES, the Nintendo Entertainment System. Wow. It was so fun and so cool, and my parents wouldn't let me have one. I know. My parents would not let me have one. They were convinced that there was like something bad about video games. Like if kids played video games, you wouldn't do anything else ever. You would just stare at the TV and play the game. Which I guess is true for some people, but I don't think it would have been like that for me. But anyway, that's beside the point. The point is it came out, it was cool, and I did not have one. So why am I talking about games then? Well, I'm talking about games because my friend, my very best friend at the time, Ginger, had one. And every time I went to her house, we either played hers or we were hanging out with her cousin and playing his. Playing all kinds of games. But mostly Mario. The Super Mario Brothers, the original. That's what we were playing. So, yeah, most of the time she would be Mario. I would be Luigi because you could play 2-player locally. And she would beat the game before I even got to play. I know. Let me walk you through this, kids. Let me take you back to the beginning of console gaming. Okay, there are a few things that you children out there, you youngsters, are taking for granted. So let me tell you what my generation had to deal with. Playing on the Nintendo. Guess what, kids? You couldn't save your game. So, you were playing Mario. You made it all the way to World 8-4, which was the last world in the first game. And you didn't want to play anymore? Have to go home, gotta eat dinner, gotta go to bed, whatever the reason is that you can't play anymore. Sorry about your luck. If you turn off that system, your data's gone. There's no internal hard drive to save it on. That's it. The machine basically just plays the game for you. Makes it playable. It doesn't save your game for you. So, if you didn't want to lose your spot, you just had to leave your console on and hope that it didn't freeze out on you, glitch out on you, get hit by lightning, whatever the case is. Overheat. Because then you lose your data and probably your system too. Second, playing a game such as Mario, 2-player, your friend, who maybe was being Mario, could play the game, hypothetically, all the way through, and you, as Luigi, would never get a turn. Ever. I know. Happened to me before. There were some cheats in the Mario game, which I'm sure that those are widely available now, but when we were kids, it was super cool. You could get to World 8 in no time. And when you did, when you're playing with a friend, you could beat the whole game. Get Bowser, save the princess, all of it, and your friend, who was being Luigi, which was usually me, didn't get to play. Yeah, didn't get to play. It's bad. I know. Also, one last thing, kids. You died in the game? Well, you don't get to continue. You get to start over. So, you could be in, like I said, World 8-4. Made it all the way to the last world, about to beat Bowser, and you died? Guess what? You get to start all the way over in World 1-1. I know, right? Terrible. So, anyway, that was my introduction to gaming. Platform games. Nothing serious. Later on, Super Nintendo comes out. My parents actually let me have one. I was more than excited. I played the crap out of Super Mario World. Loved it. Every aspect of that game is perfection, and I love it. And you can never convince me otherwise. I also had a Nintendo 64 at one point, and I played Mario 64. I mean, who doesn't love the first Mario that was 3D? Amazing game. Loved it. Played the crap out of that game too. Later on, when I got older and I was in college, I had some friends that were boys, and they would play Halo. It was a big deal. I don't recall which Halo it was. I mean, there's a number of Halo games. I don't know which one it was. But they would get together, like have not really a party, but more of a gathering of friends. And there would always be a group of boys gathered around I think it was the Xbox, playing Halo. And I always remember looking at that game, looking at them. They were having so much fun. They had this thing between them, like this camaraderie, like we're going to defeat the enemy together. And it was really cool to watch. Now, of course, there was bad words flying around when somebody made a mistake or somebody died or something crazy happened. But most of it was a very nice thing to watch. Like, they were playing a game together, helping each other out, cooperating. So I just remember them playing that and thinking, wow, like that game looks like it's really fun. Really fun to play. But I was a girl and I didn't know how to play that game. I never played a shooty game. That's what I call them. A first-person shooter was not on my list of, most played games. I played Mario games. I played other platformer style games. I played puzzle games. I never played a gun game where I had to run around and shoot stuff with a gun. Never. Did never do that. So, time goes on and I get married to my first husband, and he's a big gamer. He plays the Xbox. And he played Destiny, Battlefield, Call of Duty, Demon Souls, Dragon Age, all of that kind of stuff. Mass Effect. All of which are, kind of, not all of them, most of those that I just named are first-person shooters. Some of them are, RPGs or MMOs. And to me, like, those games were just off limits. I never got the vibe that I was, like, invited to play, and I don't even think I would even be like, can I play with you? Like, we only had one Xbox, and I don't believe you can play, like, locally together like that. I mean, you probably can now, but at the time, I mean, this is a long time ago, you couldn't, I don't think. So he was playing online with his friends and his cousins, and I just got to watch. But the more I watched and I saw them interacting and playing together, and it just looked fun to, like, run around and shoot stuff, like, in the game. I don't know. I mean, it kind of appealed to me, but I was too, like, nervous and timid to even be like, can I play? Because, I mean, I didn't have an Xbox account. I didn't have any of that set up. We only had one Xbox. So if I did play, I had to play on his account and his game. And he wasn't going to let me do that. So I just didn't. I stuck to, we had a Wii, we had a Wii U, I had a 3DS, I had a regular DS. I played that. I played Mario. I played other kiddie type style games like that, platformers. I did play one Final Fantasy game once. I do remember when I was pregnant with my first daughter and I was about to pop. And I had stopped working because I was afraid that I was going to go into labor at work. It was really close to my due date. And I was playing Fable 3, I think. And I played it all the way through, 100%ed it. And I was like, wow, this game is fun. That was my first exposure to a game that wasn't like a Mario game or a Nintendo game. I never played an Xbox game before. What? So I played that. It was fun. I really liked it, but I needed more. And I didn't really get any more. My husband at the time kept playing his games with his friends, and I kind of just went off in the other room and I would just play my Wii U, I believe at the time. Just play Mario and all of that stuff on there, and it was fun, but it wasn't really what I wanted to be doing. I wanted to be doing something a little more serious with games. So I mentioned in my first podcast that we went through a divorce. So we ended up getting divorced, and I remarried shortly after that, a couple years later, to my current spouse. My current spouse went to school at Full Sail for game design. So they know a thing or two about video games. Obviously, knowing some stuff about them, having played them. And my spouse noticed that I was interested in some what we would call more adult games, more of these first-person shooters or fighting games. And my spouse encouraged me to try one. So my first game ever that I played on the PlayStation, I believe, was Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I know. I played an Assassin's Creed game. I watched my ex-husband play plenty of Assassin's Creed games, thinking full well, I can't do that. That's crazy. But I could do that. I played that game. I even streamed it on my Twitch channel for a little while. I had fun. I mean, I probably got my butt kicked way too many times, but I had fun. Getting people with swords, sneaking up on them, cutting their throats. I mean, things you would never do in real life, but it was so fun to do in the game. That interaction with the non-playable characters was great. It's a great game. It's beautiful, great game. The only struggle that I had with that game, and it's probably because I didn't have much exposure to that style of game, was reading the map. Reading the map in that game was impossible for me. I still, to this day, probably still couldn't read the map. I know, I have struggled hard with that. It's probably something very simple that I'm just overlooking and overthinking and not understanding properly. But yeah, I couldn't read the map. So I would get lost a lot and wander around and end up in places I shouldn't be because I couldn't read the map. But besides that, that game opened up a gateway for me. It opened my eyes to a different kind of game, a different style of gaming. I was used to playing Mario games, and here I am playing Assassin's Creed. I'm a Viking badass. It was awesome. I played that. I played Call of Duty for the first time. I played Halo recently, Halo Infinite. I've played Resident Evil Village. I played Resident Evil 7. Currently, I'm playing Resident Evil 2. Getting ready for the remake of that game. And just playing all kinds of games that I never, ever, ever would have played before. And it's so amazing. One of the best experiences that I've had playing games to this day is playing Fortnite. I played Fortnite on Twitch. I was streaming. had no clue what I was doing. It was the first time I ever played that game, and I streamed it on my Twitch channel. And suddenly I had like several followers, like some, I think they were kids probably, but they wanted to follow me. They wanted to play with me, and they were so nice. Like, I told them multiple times over, like, hey, I am not good at this game. You don't want to play with me. And they were like, no, it's okay. It's cool. Come play with us. So I played with some kids. I played with one of their dads. It was so great and accepting. Like, my spouse has talked about a few times that they have played like games like Call of Duty that have that online component, and people are mean, like seriously straight up mean to you if you don't know how to play, or you don't play well, or whatever, it's your first time. And I played Fortnite for the first time, and the group of kids that I was playing with was so nice. I played with them a few times, and then I went through a break where I didn't play Fortnite for a while, and I kind of lost touch with them, so I'm kind of sad about that, but it was such a nice experience. So my point here is that I finally got to be the gamer that I wanted to be. I got to play the games that I was always interested in and never had the courage to play, or even the thought that I could, that they were even for me. I felt like those games were just off limits, period, point blank. I remember when I was little, we would go to our friend's house, and they lived in like South Florida, and we would go to their house, and they had a son that was around my age, who was a little younger than me, and he was really into Mortal Kombat on the Super Nintendo, and he was so good at it, way better than ever I could be. I mean, like, he knew all of the button combinations to do all those finishing moves and stuff. Like, I still don't know how to do those, but recently, maybe like last year, I played Mortal Kombat, like the new one, and it was fun. Yeah, I probably got my butt kicked, but it was fun while it was happening. I really enjoyed it. Recently, I played Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge, a beat-em-up style game. I never played any of those games growing up. My spouse did. They spent a lot of time in arcades. I never went to an arcade. I mean, I've been to one. I've seen one before. There was one at the mall when I was growing up. But I never thought to, like, go in there and hang out, play the games. But anytime my spouse ever saw an arcade on vacation or anywhere, like, they were there playing games. Not me. It was a different time for me. I don't know why I felt that way. I don't know why I felt like those games just weren't for me. Like, I wasn't allowed to play them. I don't know if it was like anything that my ex-husband said to me. I think it was just more of the vibe that he gave off. He only wanted to play with his friends and his cousins because they were good players. They already knew how to play. He had been playing with them for years in other games, and they all had like a system. They knew who was going to do what, and there was no barrier to entry with them. If I were to play, I would just get my butt kicked, and I wouldn't contribute to the team very much because I would die. Because when you play those games, you get matched up with people that match your skill level, or at least they're supposed to. Obviously, my ex-husband at the time and his friends he was playing with were much more experienced players, so they were going to be at a much higher level than I would even be ready for. And I would probably die right away, and that would be that, and I'd get frustrated and quit. I got my oldest daughter and my middle daughter where we play Fortnite sometimes together. They have Xboxes and I play on my PlayStation, and it's fun to have that group of people that you can play with and count on. It really is. And I never had that as a kid. I never had that as a teenager, even a young adult, when playing online was a possibility. I'm an only child. I don't have any brothers or sisters to play with. You know, it was me and my parents, and my parents weren't going to play video games with me. I mean, my dad did play some race car games with me, but I don't think he would ever play like Mortal Kombat or something with me. Probably not even buy that game for me because it was so violent. I remember as a kid watching the finishing moves where they just like rip out your skull and spine and there's blood going everywhere. I mean, I think that game is like the reason why there's those parental advisory stickers on stuff now. But my message here is that you're never, number one, ever too old to get started in gaming. Don't be intimidated if you haven't played a certain genre of game before, because it doesn't mean that you can't play them. It doesn't mean that you can't experience that. Now, are you going to be as good as somebody who's been playing for a long time? Well, no, because you just started, or you're just learning the controls or whatever. So whoever you're playing with needs to know, hey, I'm new, please be patient. And that's it. You gotta just experience the game. You have to do it. I mean, just do it. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? You die in the game? It's not that big of a deal. Don't feel like me, like I'm a girl, I can't do that. That's not for me. It's not true. There's plenty of girl gamers out there that are out there representing and doing a great job. Don't put your head in the sand because you think that you can't play like Halo or Call of Duty, because you certainly can. My suggestion, if you haven't played one of those games before diving into a co-op situation where you could, get your butt kicked or have a hard time finding friends to play with, I would play the story mode of some of those games so you can get the experience of shooting the gun, aiming the gun, trying out different guns, so that you know what to do when you get put into a co-op situation. My biggest takeaway from this is that I hope that anyone who's watching this understands that you are not locked into a style of game just because it's the only type of game that you've ever played. If you want to play something more serious, more competitive, Overwatch, Call of Duty, Halo, Apex, do it. I mean, sure, there are going to be some growing pains. There are going to be those times where you absolutely don't know what you're doing and feel lost in the sauce. But after you get the hang of it, it's not that bad. There was a time where I couldn't aim and shoot the gun at the same time. Yesterday, I was playing Resident Evil 2. I got my butt kicked because I've never played that game before, but I was shooting stuff. I was getting headshots, and that's amazing. Like, there was a time where I couldn't do that, and now I can. I've even taken it a step further. I'm almost finished with an FIT gaming course. I know, a gaming course. I'm going to get a certificate and everything. I'm so excited. So I finished most of the course, but the course starts off with, what is a video game? What is a game? And builds all the way up to creating your own game. Now, you can elect to create your own game if you're very serious about it and want that as a career. I don't want that as a career. I just want to understand esports, and I want to understand streaming. So the last part of this course was about streaming and esports. So I'm really excited about that aspect of it, not necessarily making my own game. Now, through this course, I have created an obby in Roblox. That was pretty cool. I've also done a few other really cool concepts. I got to create a logo for a hypothetical game. I got to write a little bit about it. I got to map out my career as a streamer. Yeah, I mean, I've had fun with this. It's something I always wanted to do, and I got to do it. Now, is it going to be a career path? Probably not. I'm probably not going to be on an esports team or be a professional streamer. I really don't know why I was limiting myself. I wasn't allowing myself to do those things because I didn't think that I was allowed to. I didn't think that the barrier of entry was attainable, that not knowing what to do, not knowing how to play those games was going to be a hindrance on people wanting to play with me. And just my experience with Fortnite changed my mind on that and made it much more possible for me to play online games with other people. I'm not trying to say that I'm the best at playing these games because I'm not. I'm really not. But I feel confident enough that I can go in there and play. And if I die, I die. You know, it's fine. It's not the end of the world. I can start another match. I'm not going to take it too seriously. I just want everyone out there to know that you're not too old to start playing games. You're not capable of playing certain style of game. And if you want to do something, just do it. Don't hold yourself back because of things that you think will happen or because of stereotypes that you've been taught. Try it out. Do it. All right, well, that is all that I have for this week. I hope that you really enjoyed this video. I really enjoyed talking about it. I really do love gaming, and I hope that came through in this video. Anyway, thank you for watching. I very much appreciate it. If you haven't checked out my previous 2 episodes, please do so. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. I have gathered a few subscribers since I started this journey, and I would love to bring a few more of you along with me. So feel free to like my video and subscribe to my channel, and I will catch you on the next one.